Good morning. It is Thursday, February 18th, 2021. I'm Pastor Thor Ramsey with Center Church. This is Gospel for Five, where we take 5 minutes out of our day and focus on the gospel because Jesus is the gospel. So Paul, as we noted yesterday, ends with this famous and glorious verse, "But far be it from me to boast except in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, by which the world has been crucified to me and I to the world." Jesus has called us to himself. Now, being crucified to the world and the world being crucified to us, again, we're talking about influence. This doesn't mean we can't live our lives and appreciate arts and culture and different things like that. We're in the world. We just don't think the same way about how life works. And we see that is apparent. That's apparent no matter what age you become a Christian in. When I became a Christian when I was 19 years old as a freshman in college, it was apparent to me right away that the world thought differently about Christians than Christians thought about themselves. Again, the world didn't see us in a true light, and the world just thought about life differently. Again, it's so apparent when you become a Christian and you've been a Christian a while. You see how different your thinking is than the thinking of the general population. And I mentioned this the other day. The general population is statistically shown rarely thinks about death. What? That's the one sure thing. Death and taxes. You think about taxes every year. You should take some time every year and think about death. The two sure things in life, death and taxes. And yet most people just ignore death. It's an unpleasant subject. And I think a lot of people say, well, you can't know. And they just assume that. But again, I've said this before. To say you can't know what happens when you die is saying something. It's saying you know something about what happens when you die. You're saying you can't know what happens. How do you know that? Somehow you know that you can't know what happens when you die. That's knowing something. The statement itself is self-refuting. And I'm just shocked that people just don't take time to contemplate what is going to happen to you when you die. Do you not believe there's a God you're accountable to? Well, most people don't want to think about that because most people know innately they are sinners, and sinners need to turn to the God they've sinned against and ask for forgiveness. And that's why Paul boasts in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, where we find forgiveness. And that is the only place we find forgiveness. That's the only place the forgiveness is renewed in our lives. That's the only place forgiveness is continually preached to us in our lives. This is the place that the church always needs to hold up, is the cross of Jesus Christ, so that we can know why we're saved, why we can know what makes us bold to pray to God, to ask him for mercy and help in times of need, because we've been invited in through our Lord Jesus Christ. The Father wants us to come to him. For neither circumcision counts for anything. So, follow the law. It's not going to do you any good. Nor uncircumcision. Ignore the law. It's not going to do you any good. But a new creation. So here's the idea. You follow the law, you can have the same heart. You can follow the law, be successful, and follow the law, become self-righteous. You can try to follow the law and fail at it and be condemned. Or you can just ignore the law altogether. But what are you left with in all three of those circumstances? Following the law and being successful, following the law and failing, or ignoring the law altogether. All three of those scenarios leave you the same. Your heart is the same. Your heart has not been changed. You're not yet a new creation. They count for nothing. So circumcision counts for nothing, which is saying the law counts for nothing. Following the law counts for nothing. Ignoring the law counts for nothing. The only thing that's going to change you and put you in a relationship with the living God is being born again, being a new creation. What counts? Being a new creation.